Hello? So the idea of the game that we've done is that basically it's like a board game. You'll start here on the starting tile, and you've basically got these two players that move around the board. And on your different tiles, these are all different colours, and each one will correspond to a different subject. So for example, the blue ones will be maths, the kind of orangey reddish ones will be kind of English, and the green ones will be science. Unfortunately, due to our time limitations, we haven't quite got the questions working, but we would plan to actually implement basically a question for each tile. If you got it wrong, then you have to move backspace or however many spaces you move forward. And if you get it right, then basically you'll stay on that space and you'll be able to move forward again. The idea is that basically you can reach this finish point and the first person to finish wins the game. The idea is that obviously we focus on education. So it trains your brain by doing these different questions to train you in main areas of kind of education in schools. We also have different tiles which have like glowing effects. Okay, so you can see these players moving around, and these tiles here, so 5, 13, basically glow, and when you land on them, they actually trigger small mini games. I'm hoping one of them will actually land on one of the tiles. But basically, these mini games are slightly more complex games. They'll do things like, for example, one of them makes you guess a number between 1 and 100, and it makes you think about how you can actually get that in a certain amount of tries. So you've actually got a limit on how many tries you can use to get that number. Unfortunately, none of them have landed on any of the mini games so far. But basically, it gives you this idea that you've actually got to try and guess the number in these constraints, or you have to conform to the rules of this mini game, and you'll have to continue moving around the board by actually completing the mini game if you land on it. Yeah, so they completely passed all of them. But anyway, that's our game, and the whole point is just basically to train you based on kind of the education in schools. So we want to reinforce the education in schools. We didn't have much of a focus on the usability of the game. It's just controlled by a randomly basically rolling dice, and it'll move you around the board automatically for you. So we want to keep that as simple as possible, but the controls themselves, we couldn't find any way to actually simplify them, just because how else would you play a board game, really? You know. So that's our game. Thanks for listening.
They aren't able to present? Yeah. Okay, right, so I'm going to skip that. So, okay. Right, okay, Great Firewall weren't able to complete, so if you just skip then, so on the Great, I'll come to my, you can go on to the next question.
That'll work with my video. Okay, cool. I don't know.
Hello?
Okay, so this is International Space Noodle.
Okay, so yeah, obviously the subject of our entire ITAG this year was like training your brain. And so we went down the route of instead of taking specific questions, we took inspiration from things like Luminosity and other apps that train specific key areas of the brain. So like specifically for ours was puzzle solving and memory. The way we went about doing this is we decided to procedurally generate a maze. The user will then have a certain amount of time to memorise the maze and then through a first-person camera guide their way through the maze. You can play it now, yeah.
So they're given 5 seconds, at the moment it's 5 seconds to remember the maze, and then they get shown this. So if I just maximise this quickly.
Okay, so you have 5 seconds to memorise the maze. This obviously trains the memory aspect of your brain, and we can scale the size of the maze to anything we want. So the more you use it, we can like make it a 100 by 100 maze, or if you want an easier game, a 10 by 10. And so hopefully the more a user would use this game, the more they can memorise like bigger mazes. As well as this, we also added a puzzle aspect to the game. So we decided to kind of create a Caesar cipher within our game. You would have to then also memorise 2 cubes location in the game. You'll find those locations. You will then, these are keys to helping you remember, like access the Caesar cipher. And then when you get to the end point of the maze, you will then have to enter our secret password, which is also randomly generated. All of this combined, so this is one of the Caesar ciphers. And then so hopefully all this combined will hopefully train the puzzle and memory aspects of the brain, and then you should have a bit of fun as well, hopefully. Thank you very much.
Right, Colossus is next. Okay.
Alright, so we're from Team Colossus, and we are presenting a little game that we made. Unfortunately, just before we got to the deadline of submitting the game, we ran into a problem where all text on the screen refused to render properly. So it's not entirely functional at the end, which is going to punish us slightly. However, the idea behind the game was simple. You had a mathematical problem with 2 variables of a type. So it could be anything from -100 to +100. Needed to be used along with one mathematical symbol, like add, multiply, divide, subtract, in order to come up with a correct answer. It's a bit of a long-winded explanation, I know, but if you've ever used an app like Duolingo, where you have to spell out sentences in a foreign language using the correct presses of different words and stuff like that, then you'll end up with pretty much a foreign language version of our game. Then we also had a bit of feature creep, so it ended up looking more and more like a 2D RPG. But if you play the game. So, as you can see in the top, it'll randomly generate apples of 2 different colors, representing the 2 different variables that you have to collect. When a player runs over one of the apples, it will collect it, but it won't display it won't update the display up in the corner, which pops up now. So when you pick up an apple, it won't display the correct number, which is unfortunate. But when you've collected the correct number of apples, which
you should have known from the beginning of the game. You go back to the old man, and he'll congratulate you on getting the correct answer, or slander you for being an idiot and not knowing basic mathematics. There's not much more to it than that. That's our game.
So that team is actually a team that participated from University of Westminster, and we have a video from them that they sent this morning. So if that video would play. Right, yeah. Unfortunately, the team didn't actually send an audio explanation of how the game works, but they did send a text file. And the general idea, as you've probably guessed by now, is it shows you calculations at the top, and you have to pick the result based on the calculation that it gives you. And basically, there's a timer, and you have to do it quick enough, and the timer boosts when you finish a level. So that was the general idea behind their game. That's pretty much it. They did mention that they made all the models themselves, and obviously the programming, but the art, the textures and the sound they got online off of open source textures. The whole video is pretty much just this. They did get it working on a Samsung phone actually by the end, so that was pretty cool.
Okay, right, thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, please, yes. Luke.
So, I hope you've enjoyed seeing all of our games and also the one from the Uni of Westminster. I'd just like to say a few words. So basically, the ones that are here today, we're actually all from DevSoc. It's the Developer Society at the University of Nottingham-Trent. And basically, we're just a society that does extracurricular activities. So I'd just like to congratulate all of our members here today. There are a lot of people who are using Unity and making games for the first time. We have a lot of freshers with us. So I'd just like to congratulate all of them for basically participating and having the nerve to actually come up on stage, present their ideas, their games, and just enjoying the week with us, basically. Thanks.
Right, okay, I'm going to try now and find out what happened to the voting. There's a final question about overall which team impressed you best. So if you haven't had a chance, please do have a go at that, and we'll look at the scores. Okay. Right. Let's have a look at the... It's snowing, yes, that's right. It's, okay, so the Machu Picchu game scores around 5 and a bit altogether. That one. I can export the results of this. Okay, Great Firewall, Space Noodle, Colossus, and Bushido. So actually, some really good data there, guys. Thanks everybody for participating. Okay, what we'll do is I'll take the scores down for a minute and go and have a quick look at them. Okay, and then we've got a prize for announcing to announce as well, which and I think it's really great that you've taken part and put your time and effort into it. It's what computing and ITAG's all about as well. Okay, so just give us a few minutes and then we're going to come back because we've got prizes to award for best papers as well as for the hackathon. So we're back in 5 minutes or so.